Alright, I'm going to make a video on how I change these jumbo bulbs from 2024 Home Depot, they're about 3 feet tall, into Xlights. So the first thing I do is take off the housing. It just unscrews, but you got to pretty much use your entire body to kind of hold it and twist. So once I get that done, I'll be right back. Okay, that wasn't too bad, but if you got 2 people, 1 person to hold the bulb, 1 person to spin the base, that would be a little easier. But I just kind of held the bulb with my body so it doesn't deform. It is kind of pliable, and then just spun the base like you normally would to unscrew a light bulb. The next thing we're going to do is get this little bulb here out. I'm going to basically take the hot glue off of here and use a little pair of flathead to kind of pry this up, push it out. So if you ever wanted to use it, you could. You don't have to do all this. You could clip it, but you still got to get it out. So I want to make them usable in the future. Probably never will, but that's what I'm going to do. I'll be right back. Alright, so now we finished sliding this out, and you can just kind of fold it to the side. If it gets messed up, again, we're not really out a whole lot. Now, what I like doing is drilling a hole about right here. There's an internal rib here and an internal rib here. The first time I did this, I drilled on the rib, and well, it's hard to put on connectors from the inside, so I'm going to drill here. You could drill it lower, but then your wire has to be longer to reach your lights. So I'm going to drill it here, and that is my current plan. I'm going to use a step bit to do that. I'll use a regular drill bit for a pilot hole, then a step bit big enough for a PG9 connector. So again, I'm going to use my step bit to drill a hole big enough for one of these PG9, I think it says it on there, one of these sides. Yep, PG9 connectors. That's big enough for the X connect. If you're using a Paul Zeng wire, you might be able to get by with a PG7. Just check your wire first. You could just drill a hole. I've done that in the past and it's fine, but this will give a little bit more security on it, strain relief, and that's what I'm doing this time to be a little bit more professional. Okay, so now I've got my hole drilled. Said I was going to put it up here, put it down there, doesn't really matter. I should have put it up here so my wire's a little bit longer, but that's where I drilled. And I made sure this hole was just big enough to fit the PG7 adapter. And now I'm going to reach inside, put the nut on that we have here, and I'll be back once that's accomplished. Alright, so I got that done. Now the next thing we're going to do is populate the top plate. This is the top plate I'm going to use. I don't know if you can see there's a little bit of a recess there. So I like having the recess on the bottom because it's going to end up going in something like this or like this right here. See if I can film correctly. And the wire will attach from the bottom. So we're going to go and populate that. I've actually already done that one because I had an issue earlier, and so now I have all the wires. Now if you wanted to have an output, you just would have to do a second one down here to come back out. So one would be input, one would be output, maybe do them left and right of each other. That's your call. I'm going to do these as individuals. The wiring pattern, if you check on Xlights, basically starts in the middle. You could be really any one of these outer rings or inner rings is number 1, and then it goes all the way around, and then this would be where the next row starts and goes all the way around. Right now this is my start, and this is the end. I'm not going to use this. It's just going to lay dangling. There's no wires that are going to touch, so I'm not going to do anything with it. You could put some hot glue on it or liquid electrical tape or however you want to terminate it. For mine, it's going to leave dangling. So the next thing we're going to do is grab, in my case, an X-Connect jumper wire, and we're going to basically use these UI2 connectors to connect it to this right here. And you can just follow the back side of the pixel to verify which one is ground and which one is hot. The middle is always going to be data. So I'll let you know when I have that accomplished. Alright, so I've just inserted the wire to go through here. I find it easiest to go ahead and push it all the way in and tighten this up. It's not where it's going to stay, but to put the wires in, I like having as much wire up top as I can. Again, that's why this location would be better, because again, you get this much more wire to work with. So I'm going to connect those with the UI2 and be right back. One more thing, they do make a special connector or pair of pliers for the YU, not UI, YU2 connectors. You see the part number there if you want to get one, but this basically ensures that you're not going to crush it more than it's capable of, because it'll keep that space automatically. Now, I have also been known to use a pair of pliers. You just got to be careful that you don't crush the connector and use too much force. So this will work, but this is the proper tool. I also like having these automatic strippers to strip the wire back a little bit. It's not necessary on these connectors because the UI2 pierces it and makes the connection automatically, but these are invaluable for connecting stuff into differential and controllers where you have to insert the wire directly. When you're using these UI2 connectors, you want to make sure that the wires go all the way to the end of the connector. Some connectors are pushed in a little too far and it doesn't allow them to go all the way in, and you'll have a false positive. So just make sure that you get them all the way in before you do the squeeze. Alright, so we've got all three connectors on. And again, I just looked at the polarity, and you can see on the right side it says ground, left side says 12 volt, and the middle we just know is data. So I followed that down the wire and just connected them appropriately. So in this case we had red, which is almost always going to be positive, yellow is almost always going to be ground, and in this case black was actually the ground, which is normal for 12 volt applications. In home AC applications, black is often the load. Just going to keep those separate because it's not the load here. Now we're going to gently try to get this down. Just going to move the wires out of the way so that you can kind of get it nice and low. Make sure the wires aren't crimping as they go into the connector or into the prop. And get that out of the way and just try to get it like that. So that is going to be sufficient. I like to drill a hole in the middle because this is 3D printed. It will crack by looking at it the wrong way. So I've drilled a hole in the middle just to make sure that the plastic's not going to crack. And then I'm going to take a small screw, see if I can find one here real quick. Just a moment. Again, I'm going to take this small screw and just fasten it down on here. Just a moment. Let's see if I can do this while I got y'all here. Again, doesn't have to be super tight. You're just trying to prevent it from moving too far if it falls over or something, and that's going to be more than sufficient. I apologize if I keep going off to the left with the video. And now we just put the top back on. Before we do that, let's do a test. I've created a small test rig to be able to plug X-Connect or Paulzang, that's the two that I use, connectors up fairly easily. Alright, this is a small little test rig I set up just on a little plastic cutting board. Not the safest, but it works, and I can press the test button over here once I have it plugged up. So I'm going to plug up the connector and see if it works. Alright, we've got her plugged up. We're going to hit test. It helps if I plug the wire up first. Alright, now we'll do test. Let's try the other one. Apparently I need to fix my test rig. Now we're on the other connection, and as you see, all of the lights are on. Now some of these are higher than the others. You can push them down if you really want to, but when you put the big egg on top, sorry, I can't grasp it, it's too big. Nope, give me a second. When you put the big egg on top, see if I can zoom out a little bit more. That's all I got. We got a good situation going here, so I got 3 done. I got 5 more to go. Hope this helps. If you got questions, I'll try to answer. I'll also try to put a link to the 3D file in the link as well, or in the comment section, I guess. So hope it helps.